Hello everybody. I wanted to pass along how much I enjoyed this book, Walter Burkert. Burkert is probably a better pronunciation. Walter Burkert, or Burkert, if it's German. Ancient Mystery Cults. I read it about 5 years ago and benefited by the contrast Burkert makes between Christianity, Judaeo-Christianity really, and all of the ancient mystery religions. Let me just read you the blurb on the back to introduce this man. He's not a nobody in the world of scholarship. The foremost historian of Greek religion provides the first comprehensive comparative study of a little-known aspect of ancient religious beliefs and practices. Secret mystery cults flourished within the larger culture of the public religion of Greece and Rome for roughly 1,000 years. This book is neither a history nor a survey, but a comparative phenomenology, which has to do with the study of phenomena. And then he itemizes what they are, concentrating on 5 major cults in defining the mysteries and describing their rituals, membership, organization, and dissemination. Walter Burkert displays the remarkable erudition we've come to expect of him. One of the reviews on the back mentions his credibility because it calls him widely recognized as our best scholar of ancient Greek religion. So there's no higher authority on the planet than Walter Burkert on this subject. What does he have to say about the contrast between Judeo-Christianity and the mystery religions that would have been the backdrop of New Testament Christianity and the work of the apostles? Here's what he says. Ancient mystery cults did not form religious communities in the sense of Judaism or Christianity. Even Richard Reitzenstein, another great authority on this subject, had to acknowledge that the concept of church, that is, ecclesia, has no equivalent in pagan religion. It goes back to the Septuagint Bible. It is remarkable that a term borrowed from the Greek polis system came to designate an organization that was to overthrow and eliminate this very system. Ecclesia indicates quite a different level of involvement and a claim about the organization of life different from that inherent in a private club or limited and local clergy. Now, in the Septuagint and in the Old Testament, when that word is used, it is used of an assembly, but not necessarily a religious assembly. This is what he means here, that this word was used commonly in Greek, not of religion, but of politics. A new and contrasting form of politeia, same word, was emerging. We find Philo, for instance, the great Jewish theologian of that time, applying this very term of political activity, politeia, to the Jewish way of life, and Christians following suit in their own terminology. The Jews had refused total integration into ancient society, and with Christianity there appeared an alternative society in the full sense of potentially independent, self-sufficient, and self-reproducing communities. Here we find from the beginning a concern for the poor, economic cooperation at a level quite uncommon in pagan religion, and the inclusion of the family as the basic unit of piety in the religious system. To educate the children in the fear of God suddenly became the supreme duty of parents, as the Apostolic Fathers already taught. And since the believers were at the same time encouraged to multiply with a new morality, ousting all the well-established forms of population control, such as the exposure of children, homosexuality, and prostitution, the ecclesia became a self-reproducing type of community that could not be stopped. No religious organization outside Judaism had developed such a system, least of all the mysteries with their exclusiveness, their individualism, and their dependence on private wealth. It is true that there were initiations of children. They frequently appear in Bacchic mysteries, that is the religion of the Greek god Riot, Bacchus. And even at Eleusis, there was a child from the hearth initiated at each festival, but this was a special honor or provision of concerned parents, not a religious or moral duty. It was unthinkable that the entire life of the family should be subject to a special religious orientation, and that every child should find himself inescapably merged in a religious system where apostasy was considered to be worse than death. The very idea of, and then he lists the various cults, the very idea of education of children in these cults would approach the ridiculous. Mithras, who was at one point the great rival of Christianity, Mithraism, Mithras, for one, did not even admit women. He stood for men's clubs in opposition to family life. And then Burkert finishes his chapter with this paragraph. The basic difference between ancient mysteries on the one hand and religious communities, sects, and churches of the Judeo-Christian type on the other is borne out by the verdict of history. Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic sects have demonstrated astounding capacities for survival, even as minorities in a hostile environment. The Samaritans, for instance, split from Jewish orthodoxy, have survived in the world for about 2,400 years. The Mandeans are about as old as Christianity. The Albigensian movement survived even the European Inquisition. Countless sects have been active ever since the Reformation. Christian outposts in Ethiopia, Armenia, and Georgia are no less remarkable for this tenacious vitality. It was quite different with the ancient mysteries, whether those of Eleusis, Bacchus, Meter, Isis, or even Mithras, the so-called invincible god. With the imperial decrees of 391 and 392 AD prohibiting all pagan cults, and with the forceful destruction of the sanctuaries, the mysteries simply and suddenly disappeared. There is not much to be said for either the Masons or modern witches' claim that they are perpetuating ancient mysteries through continuous tradition. Mysteries could not go underground because they lacked any lasting organization. They were not self-sufficient sects. They were intimately bound to the social system of antiquity that was to pass away. Nothing remained but curiosity, which has tried in vain to resuscitate them. Walter Burkert, Ancient Mystery Cults.